Vicky and Marley were the humor of another world. And, I started with Wag the Dog, and like, come on, maybe I'm a little bit more intelligent than like an airhead, but I love comedy. I've always wanted to work with Owen Wilson. I would like to take down some of the comedy players in the Bridesmaids movies. I all these girls have, I've loved it. I Saturday Night Live has always been something that I wish that if I had been 19 to get on a soap, that I would have gotten a challenge to do. I want to be kind of older in the arena.
Owen Wilson's a good one. Owen Wilson is funny.
Right?
Yeah.
He's funny. He has a charm that I like. I don't know. He might be my, I don't know. It'd be fun to work with him.
What about if they were
I mean, are you kidding? My art is about collaboration. I did an audition the other day. I'll tell you a story. I did an audition the other day, and some people think it's funny that I audition, but I do. I work very hard at my auditions. I am, when I'm trying to go and shoot for something else, I work hard at it. And my son, Homer, my 19-year-old, played my off camera. And Heather taught me doing it. And I was like, oh my God, this is what people do. But I feel so lucky because I get to interact. Now, the thing with but when I asked him to be my off camera, and it was for a big chunk of scenes, he needed to be funny. And what I said to him was, your timing, I'm as good as you. I'm really as good as you. I can prep all that I want, but I'm as good as you. That interaction to me is the fun of acting, whether I'm in a dramatic scene or not. I've been blessed to work with a lot of incredible, extraordinary people. But when you're opposite Vince Vaughn and you're playing and you get to look at him and you get to do your scenes, it's like, it's the money. You're like, whoa, wow. I get to, I get to play. We're only so like, I mean, bring it. Tom Cruise. Here's another one I've always wanted to play with. I did a screen test with him and it was Showing Me the Money, what that movie was, Cameron Crowe.
Jerry Maguire.
Yes, and I screen tested, but I didn't quite fulfill the understanding. Who cares if the movie was done forever ago? I don't know who she is because he's not really in love with her, so I don't understand this movie. And I say to Cameron Crowe, and my agents call me after, like, are you out of your mind? Did you just say that this movie doesn't make any sense? And I said, yeah. They're like, you didn't get the movie. And I'm like, well, but you can't do a love story where the guy isn't really in love with the girl. So she's sacrificing and he's sacrificing. And that's not called love. I didn't get the movie. But I want back on terms with Tom Cruise. I want.
So wait, because you say you think no one wants to hear this. I want to hear this. So you literally read for like the lead part opposite Tom Cruise.
Yes. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Now, what's funny about you say things. I'm a person who likes to make sense. I study logic. I mean, really, if I were to state what I studied the logic of love. How do we treat people? Doesn't make sense. What am I listening to? Doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, I have the power to ask the question and learn. Do we empower ourselves enough to make sense out of things that we listen to? Well, that movie didn't make sense. He didn't really love her, and she wished that he loved her. Bye. No, that doesn't make sense. Now I've learned to couch my feelings a little bit more. I've learned to tame myself a little bit more, but that was when I was a wild child.
Did you tell Tom Cruise it didn't make sense, or just Cameron Crowe?
Cameron Crowe, and then I never saw Tom Cruise again, so I want to see him again.
Well, I don't know if you know, but the movie went on and did something pretty good.
Dude, believe me, I know. Believe me, I know exactly what happened to that movie. These are mistakes that I've made in my life. It's things that I'm, willing to admit. In my 12-step program of admitting stupid things I've done. Don't tell Cameron Crowe that this movie doesn't make sense.
I'm sure your agent was really happy with that too.
Oh
Right?
my God, the amount of calls they got. Did you just, there were a few of those stories until I learned to shut my mouth a little bit. It
Was
took me
there
20.
was there ever anything else that like you were really heavily in the mix for that now we're like, oh, Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman? Like, were you ever heavily in the mix for something that we are like, oh wow?
Well, I know I was heavily in the mix for 6 days, 7 nights, and after that I got blacklisted. So, I mean, it was pretty amazing. When I got the script for 6 days, 7 nights, I read it and I called my agent. I can play this part with my eyes closed. And he's like, oh, I said, who's the dude? Harrison Ford. I was like, oh, hi, spit take. No, I'm not going to get this one. What are you even talking about? And he said, well, I said, I'm not. He said, well, you're meeting with him on Tuesday. I was like, what? That Tuesday morning is this, when I met Harrison Ford, is the same night Ellen came out on her very famous puppy episode. That's how close it was to me meeting Ellen and me getting 6 days, 7 nights. And if it hadn't been in the same week, I would have been blacklisted and never gotten the movie. That's why I give Harrison so much credit for my career, for my ability to even have a voice now. Because he said, frankly, my dear, I don't give a shit who you're fucking. We've got a romantic comedy to make. And those intersections of that week changed my life forever. And that's what and I live in the consequences and also the blessings of that choice.
Do you run into Harrison and Ford these days and just say thank you?
Harrison Ford and I have a very beautiful relationship. The last time I ran into him, actually, he would be so embarrassed if I told him this. We were at a party. I knew he and Calista were there, and I was like, "Oh, great! I haven't seen him in so long." And so I said to the person throwing the party, please just let me go over and say hi. And we went over to the table and Harrison looked up and he goes, oh, hi, it's very nice to meet you. And I said, hey, how you doing? He's very nice to meet you. And he kind of like strangely shook my hand. And I say, hi, Calista, because I was on Ellen McBeal too. I'm like, hi, Calista. Anyway, and Harrison was so weird. I said, anyway, have a beautiful night. And I just wanted to say hi. I went around, it was in this gorgeous home in Beverly Hills. So I go around the corner and I'm like, wow, that was really weird. Like, I thought Harrison loved me. Like, I don't understand what just happened, right? And also, Calista was kind of my friend. I mean, I loved her on Ellen McBeal. And, so I'm having this, like, insecurity breakdown, but, not horrible, I'm fine. But I am in the kitchen, and Kelsey Grammer happened to be there. So I'm like, Kelsey, this is just fucked up, because Kelsey and I, like, another person I want to work with, talk about comedian. I love Kelsey. And I go, fuck, man, the weirdest thing just happened to me, and you're noticing why I need more champagne. I just walked up to Harrison and said hi, and I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's the host of the party, and he whispers in my ear, and I turn away from Kelsey. I'm like, yeah. He said,